Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anindu and today we are back with the second part of this video tutorial series on full stack React development. So in our last video tutorial, we have already covered the setup that you need to have to start building this app. So if you have not gone through that video, I would highly recommend you to go through that video so that you will be ready with your initial setup. So in this video tutorial, we will be focusing mainly on cloning the entire Instagram application using our React framework. And in our next video tutorial, over there we will be developing the entire backend system using the SpringBoot application. And in our fourth video tutorial, there we will be integrating the both backend as well as frontend, and then we will be deploying into our cloud server. So let's start with cloning our Instagram application. So before starting the development process, let me show you that after the end of this complete video, we will be done with the cloning of the Instagram app. So over here you can see that the final product will look something like this, where over here we will be done with the authentication page, where a user can sign up and sign in to our application, and once the user have given the correct user ID and password, we will move to the next component, that is the home page. So our home page will look something like this, where over here we have some dummy data to show up in our UI. So at the end of this complete video, we will be done with cloning each and every attribute of our Instagram app, and in our next video we will be creating our REST API, that is our backend support, to enable all the feature of the Instagram app. So let's start with the creation of an empty React app. So for that I will be first create an empty folder in our local drive, and we will open our Visual Studio Code and we will start a fresh React app. So over here, first we will go to the terminal and we will start creating a new app from the terminal. And the syntax for creating a fresh React app is npx create React app and then the name of the app. I will give the application name as My Instagram. So it will take a couple of minutes to download all the necessary packages and libraries that we need to run a React app. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. So as instructed over here, the first thing we have to do is we have to go inside the folder where we have created the project. And after that, we will be starting our empty project by the command npm start. So our empty React app is all set and running, and we are ready to clone our Instagram app. So let's start with the development. So the first thing that we will be doing is we will be cleaning the React app. So over here, if you know the structure of the React app, you know that all the codes are in app.js. So over here, you can see the image file which is loading over here is from this app.js. So the first thing we will do, that since we are doing the project from the scratch, we will clean all the codes from here. So the app.js is empty right now, and also we will clean the CSS file over here. So right now we have a React project which is totally empty, and you can see the page that came up over here is completely blank. So the first thing we will be doing is we will start with our front page, that is the login page. So the way we will be developing is we will be first creating the login page, and we will create the sign up and the sign in page. So once we are done with the sign up and the sign in page, then we will move to the next page, that is the main page of the Instagram. But as of now, let's start with the sign up page over here. So for the sake of development purpose, I have collected all the images that you need for creating the clone of the Instagram, and you can easily download those images file from the link I have given in the description below. So this is the link for all the images that you need to download for creating this project. So I will download all the files over here in my local, and I will import those in my React app. So I have placed the images folder under the source directory within the project. So right now we have got the entire setting that you need to have for developing this project. Let's now rebuild the project again so that we can easily use the images file that we have just imported. So the project is up and running. Let's start with the development. So the first thing that we will be doing is we will be start with our app.js, and over here we will have to do some of the imports that we need for the development. And the first import that we have to do is Material UI. So we'll search for React Material UI. and we will install the package from here. So this will again take a minute or so depending on the speed of your internet. But before that, we will be dividing this project into components. As you know, React is a component-oriented framework. So the first thing that we will be creating over here is a folder called as component. And over here, we will be creating our first component, that is our login page. And within this login component, we will create the JS file that would be responsible for this component. And we will be creating a CSS file also that will create the design layout for this page. So over here, we will be using some of the shortcut of the VS Code, and for that you need the plugins for the VS Code. So in my previous video only, I have told all the plugins that would be needed for the development purpose. So the first thing that we will be doing, we will be creating the React component. So over here, you can see that using the plugins of the VS Code, we have easily created the component within our project. So let's name this component as the login page. And over here, we will be creating an empty div just to see that everything is working fine or not. So here we have created our first component, that is the login page. And we will be importing this login page from our app.js. So over here you have seen that the VS Code has automatically imported the login page from our component. So let's see, yes, we got the hello world over here. So this was the first step of creation of the component. So right now the setup is we have our parent component, that is app.js, and from there we are calling our child component, that is our first component of our Instagram app, and that is the login page. So over here we will now start our development within this login page. So the first thing that we will be doing over here is we will be dividing this entire page into grids, just like the way we do the gridding structure in our Bootstrap app. So over here also, we will be dividing this page into 3 grids. So this will be the first grid, which is a blank. After that, we have a grid that contains all the components within it. And after that, there will be another grid that is empty. So we will be distributing this entire page into 3 grids. And for that, we will be using the React Material app. So over here, if you go to the Material UI website, over here you can find out the components that are present within this Material UI. So over here, you will get the grid structure. So from here, we can get all the components that we need to import for using a grid. So if you click on the sample code that is provided over here, you can see that the library that we need to import for using the grid is the grid structure from Material UI. So we'll copy this dependency from here and we will import this into our app. So over here, we will be dividing the entire page into 3 grids. So first we will create the parent grid, which is called the container. And within this parent container, we will be creating the 3 child grid. And I will be giving a spacing of 3 for the first grid and 6 for the middle grid. So the total summation should be 12. So let's give some empty string to see whether the grid structure is working fine or not. So let's run the app and let's wait for the project to compile. So it compiled successfully. So over here you can see that we have distributed the entire page into 3 grids. So over here this is the grid 1, this is grid 2, and from here we have grid 3. So the first initial setup of this page is done. Now we have to start importing these images over here and we will have to start creating the sign in and sign up page. So let's start with the importing of this image. So over here we will divide this main component, that is the in-between middle component, into 2 parts. One for storing the image and one for storing the sign up and sign in form. So let's divide this entire component into 2 parts. So over here this is the parent part, and within this parent part we are creating 2 parts. One, this as the left hand side, which will contain the image over here, and another the right hand side, which will contain the login form. So let's import the image over here. So over here we will import this image file from the image folder which is present under source directory. So over here we will import this Insta image. So over here you can see we have imported the image over here. So let's give an height and width of this image. Let's see how it is coming up in our UI. So over here you can see we already got the image over here. So this is our original Instagram and this is our UI over here. So it's looking more or less similar. So over here you can see in the main Instagram there is a small gap over here between the image and the top header, whereas in our app we do not have a proper margin over here. That we will set up in the later part of this video. So let's build the right hand side components over here. So over here also we will be creating one more div as a container for all this component. So let's create a div over here, and within this div we will store the Instagram logo over here. So let's import the Instagram logo over here. So similarly we will again import the Instagram logo from our image directory. Let's see how it is looking in our app. So over here you can see that clearly we got the Instagram logo over here, but the way it is aligned is not proper. So over here you can see that one of the image is getting stacked over another. So let's solve this problem. So what we will do is on this parent component, that is the outer component what we have developed over here, let's assign some CSS property into it. Let's assign a class name. So as per convention, what we will do, we will give the class name as a page name underscore the component name. So let's copy this class name and give the class attribute over here. So if I now go to the application, you can see that over here the images are stacked one above the another. So we will be applying a property which is known as display flex. And now we will change the size of the Instagram logo. So over here we will go and we will assign a class to this also. So over here you can see even if I am giving the width and height of these images, it's not getting changed. Let's see why. Okay, so the main reason why it's not getting changed because we have not imported this login CSS file inside our component. So let's import the class file into our component. So you can see that as soon as we have imported this class file into our component, the page layout got changed. So now from here we can change the CSS property and we can place the component accordingly. So the first thing that we will be creating is we will be creating a component and we will try to give a card view like this. So let's implement this card view. So basically if you want to debug the code, over here you can see we have the main page layout, which is nothing but this div that is associated over here. And over here within this main div we have two components, one for the image and one for this right hand side component. So this is our image file, which is our left hand side component, and over here we have the right hand side, which is nothing but this component. So we'll give a class property over here. So let's get the height and width of this component. So over here also we will be coding on the browser so that it will be easy for us to implement the code. So if I click on this, you can see this is the component which is it pointing to. So over here, first of all, we will give the height and width of this component. So over here you can see that in this card view, there is a small border which is giving it an elevated card view. So we also make something like that. So what we will do over here, we will give the border as 1 pixel solid and we will get the corresponding color of this shadow, which is db db db. So over here also you can see that we got a component something like this. So now since we have got a simple layout of this mock, we will just copy this CSS property from here and we will paste into our app. So now what we have to do, we have to get rid of this text over here. So we'll go to our login component and we will delete this text from here so that we can get a clear view over here. So over here you can see we are almost reaching towards the login page. So we have to put few of the CSS conditions so that it looks more or less similar to what we have in our existing Instagram app. So the first thing that we will be doing is we have to give a small margin at the top of this layout. So what we will do over here on the login page, we will be giving a small margin at the top and we will give a margin of 25 pixels. So over here you can see that we got a space over here which is more or less similar to our Instagram app. But over here you can see that this container is somewhat in line with this mobile header. So we will change the position accordingly. we'll point out this component and we will give a top margin to that. So over here right now you can see that this component gets aligned with this mobile header. So we are almost reaching towards the final goal. So we'll just copy this attribute from here and I will paste it in our component. So one more thing that we have to do is you can see that the Instagram logo is left aligned over here. But in the main app it is placed in the center, giving an equal margin from each side. So what we'll do, we will change the alignment of this Instagram logo. So over here on this right component, that is the main div, we will change the alignment properties over here. So right now the Instagram is at the center, but over here what we have to do is we have to give a top margin above Instagram so that it looks more or less similar to our actual app. So let's first copy this text align into our main project. And over here on the logo, we will give a top margin over here. So now if you look into our app, it looks more or less similar to the actual app. So the small modification that we have to do, we will be doing at the end after we complete the entire layout. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to create the sign in and the sign up page over here. So for that, we will be creating another div from here which will be the signing option. So let's create an empty div which will contain all the components for the signing elements. So over here we'll go back to our login component. So we'll create another div in this layout. So over here we will give the class name as signing. And within the signing component we have to create two text box and a button over here. So let's create the two text box and the button like this. So within this sign-in component, we will be creating a text box. So one will be of type text and another will be of type password. And over here we will be creating one sign-in button. So you can see that I have not focused anything on the CSS property till now. So let's save it and let's see how it is coming in the application. So over here you can see it's coming at the last of this border because we have placed this component outside our main div. So this was our parent component. So we have misplaced this by a big margin. So yeah, so you have to make sure that you are giving all the tags correctly. So let's save it. Yep, this coming over here. So right now this sign-in properties is within this parent container which is below our Instagram logo. So now let's give the corresponding style. So first we will give the property to this text box and then we will give a class to this button. So let's create these classes in our CSS property. So this is our first property followed by the login button, and at the top we have to give the property of this sign-in. So if you see the component over here, you can see that the height and the width of this text box is somewhat around 258.36. So let's build it accordingly. So you can see we got the height and width as it is. Let's change the property of the button. Right now all of them are more or less same. Let's increase the width of this button a bit. Now what we will do, we have to give a proper margin between all this component. So over here if you see, there's a proper margin of few pixels in between the components. So accordingly we will give the properties over here. So we'll give a margin of 5 pixels over here. Let's see how it looks like. Yep, it looks fine. And what we'll do is over here within this logo, you can see that there's a big gap between this logo and this first text box. So what we'll do is on this sign-in page, we'll give a top margin to it. So let's give it as 25 pixel. Let's see how it looks like. So yes, it's looking fine. If you compare with our main app, it's looking more or less fine. Yep. Now the next thing is over here you can see the border of this text box is quite grayed out, whereas we have a prominent border over here. So let's change the border property also. So we'll give a border of 1 pixel solid and we will be using the color code DBDB which is used by Instagram. Yep, it is looking more or less similar. Now one thing we have to give is within this text box you can see that there is a grayish color as well as we have a text like phone number, username and email ID. So for that we will be also giving the corresponding text into our text box which is called as a placeholder. So we'll give the placeholder and we will give the input text as phone number username or email, and for the password also we will set the placeholder as password. So let's see how it is looking in our app. Let's save it and go to our app. Yup, it's looking more or less same. Now what we have to do is we have to mimic this entire layout. We will be creating a great background over here, and we will give a small padding to this because you can see that the text is coming after up margin over here. So we will also do the same over here. So what we will do in our CSS page, I will give the background color to this text box, which is, so let's see. Yep, it's got a great background over here. So you must be thinking that how I'm knowing this background color by default. So let me tell you what extension I normally use for understanding the background. So over here in the Chrome, you can see I have an extension over here, which is known as Color Pick Eyedrop. So this is a great tool for UI development, or if you are cloning any particular app. What you have to do is, so once you click on this extension, it will give a pointer icon over here. So if you just drag the pointer to a particular element, it will give the color code for that element. So over here, if you see, this element has color code of FA, and in this way I get to know all the color code that is given to each and every component. So hopefully right now it will be easy for you to clone any app exactly similarly. So let's get back to the CSS property. Now let's give a small padding to this text box. So I am giving a small padding to the left side, so it's looking more or less similar. One more thing I will be giving is, you can see the border over here is quite pointed, whereas in the Instagram there's a rounded border present over here. So I will be giving rounded border. For that, the property that we use is border radius of 5 pixels. Now let's change the property of the button. So over here, first of all, I have to change the text. It is not sign in but login. So over here also I will be giving a height to this button as 36, and we'll be giving a similar border radius of 5 pixels. Also I will be giving a font weight to bold, and as well as I will be removing the border from here. So I will be giving the border like 1 pixel solid, and I will be giving the border color as this code, which is blue, which I again got it from the extension that I am using. So also over here I will be giving the background color of this button to this. So now if I just save it, you can see that I got a similar look and feel of the button. The only thing is I need to change the color of text to white. Let's save it. Yup. So now you can see that our Instagram app is looking more or less similar to this original one. Only difference is that I can see is it is starting from this edge, whereas in our app it is a bit misaligned. So what we'll do in the login page main in the CSS, we will give a margin left and we will move it 65. Yep. And also at the top there's a list padding over there which I have given as 25. So I will decrease it to 10. Okay, so I will copy this runtime CSS from here and I will be pasting into our login main over here. Yep, we got the exact look and feel. So one thing, if you have noticed, there is a small difference between our app and the Instagram app. Our background over here is having a white texture, whereas the Instagram is having a gray texture. So over here also we'll change the background property of this entire page. So we'll give a body and we will set the background color over here. Now let's see, we'll go over here. You can see we also got a grayish tone over here, but the card that we have implemented also have become gray because we have not given any color property to this card layout. So over here in the container, in this card layout, we will set the background color of this card property to white. Yep, so thus it's looking good, and just a small modification that we have to do is over here in the login button, I think we have to give a small margin at the top. So we'll give a margin top of 5 pixels so that it looks more or less similar to the app. So if you see, this is our Instagram app and this is our cloning app. So you can easily understand that how greatly we are cloning each and every property of our Instagram app. So in this way, we will keep cloning each and every property and we will try to make the final app as close as possible with the exact Instagram using the React framework. So let's now create the properties over here. That is the or and the login with Facebook and the forget button. So I will not be implementing this login with Facebook functionality because it is quite simple and it is just a plugin that you need to install from Facebook developer app. So if you want me to code this thing, I will be definitely showing that in some other video. So let's start with implementing this layout. So what we have to do, let's go to the JS file over here in the login.js. So within this sign in component, once we are done with this button, over here we will be creating this all layout. So the easiest way of creating this is we will create a div, and within this div we'll create another div. So it's a bit funny way of doing it, but let's do it in this way only. So we'll create 3 div over here. I'll tell you why I'm doing this. So in between I will give it as or. So basically this one is our first line which we have to provide over here, and this is the second line which will be over here, and in between this there will be the or text at the center. So let's do it. So what we will do, we will create a class over here, as we'll name it as a divider, and we'll give the same name over here, and we'll give our class name to this or text, and we'll give class to this parent attribute over here. So let's create the corresponding class into our CSS file. So you can already see that after just clicking on save, I already got this or text at the center. So let's create the divider, and after that we will be creating the or text. So what we will do in the divider is we will give a width to this divider, and we will give a border to this divider. Let's see what happens after that. So let's give us 1 pixel of solid border of color black. So over here you can see we got a divider like this. So as you have already know that these items are getting stacked one above the other. So the easiest way of making all this component in a single line is we will give the property as display flex in the parent layout, and I will set the height of this as 0 pixel. So right now you can see this becomes a line, and over here I have to center align this component. We'll give a margin top to this component, that means the divider. I will give a height of 10 pixel over here as a margin top. So you can see it came somewhat in between, and I will change the color of this thing to db. So you can see I already got a layout something similar to this. So over here in the text I will be giving a margin of 25 pixel. So what I have to do is I want the margin on the left and the right hand side, not on the top and the bottom. So what I will do, I will give 0 pixel 25, which means 0 pixel on top and the bottom and 25 pixel on the both side. So over here we got almost the component similar to what we need. So only thing is over here I have to decrease the width of this divider to somewhat to 80. Yep, it's looking more or less similar, and we will be increasing the margin at the top. Let's go with some higher number as 50. No, sorry. And we have to increase the margin at the top for this component 20 pixel. Yep. So over here I just need to change the color of this text, which I have to make it as bold, and I will be giving the color and click on save. Yup, we got something more or less similar. Just need to change the width over here to 20 pixels so that it comes closer. This is looking more or less similar. And at the end over here we will be giving the login with Facebook and the forgot password button. So that's too simple. So let's create 2 divs, and we will give the name as it is login with Facebook, and over here we will be giving forgot password, and we will give the class name. Let's give it as, create the class file in our CSS file. So you can see we already got the text over here. So let's color this thing. We got the color code over here, forget password also same color. So if you just see the sign-in font size is somewhat this, we will copy paste the same properties from here so that we don't have to code it again. Let's save this thing. Yep, we got this. Now over here let's change the font weight. Let's make it bold. We just have to give a margin at the top so that it looks more or less same. So I'll be giving a margin of 50 pixel. Yep, so it's looking more or less the same. Only thing we have missing an image over here. So let's also provide an image to that. I've already placed the image in the images folder that I have provided. So let's give an image. Let's name it as FB. Okay, now let's import that image over here from the same part from where we have to import the images, and you can see we got the image, but it's too big. Okay, that's cool, but at least we got the image. So let's change the height of this image. Let's see how it's looking like. Yep, it's looking exactly the same what we wanted. So only property that will change is I have to give a small padding to it. So let's do inline CSS for this React app. So let me tell you how to do it for React. So if you give double curly braces over here and give the CSS properties over here. So I need a margin right into it, so the syntax will be a split difference for the normal CSS, and let's give a pixel, and yes, you can see it got a distance between these two. So I hope we are almost there. The sign in page, the small 1 or 2 pixel difference that I can see that we can easily ignore, but if you want it to be the exact same, you can just change the pixel wise modification. It is looking more or less similar. So we are done with the initial sign in option. Now we have to go with the sign up option, and we will be creating a functionality like if we click on sign up, this thing will flip and we will get a sign up over here. So let's start with the sign up option. So to create a sign up option over here, we have to again create an empty div and we have to give a card view to that. So let's create an empty div over here below this component. So we'll again go to login page.js. So we'll create an empty div over here and let's give a class name as sign up option. And within this container, we have to give the option like don't have an account, then sign up, or have an account, then sign in. So let's copy this text. So over here, we will create two divs for two conditions, one for sign in and one for sign up. So the first text is don't have an account, then sign up, otherwise have an account, then sign in. So let's also put a class to it. And let's create the corresponding classes in our CSS file. So over here you can already see that we got the text over here. So let's first create the outer card view. For that we will be taking this class and paste it in our class file. And over here we will be giving the corresponding class attribute to this component. So the first thing that we will give is the height and the width of this component. And let's give a border of 1 pixel solid with the color code as dbdb. Let's save it. So over here you can already see that we got the component over here. So let's decrease the width of this. Let's make it 350 because you can see it's going out of this component. Yep, it's looking nice. Now let's color this component and let's set the background to white. So over here you can see that the background got changed to white, but we need to change the height of this component. Let's make it 56. So over here, yes, we got the component. Now let's give a margin to it. So let's give a top margin of 25 pixel and let's see, yes, it's looking more or less like our app. So let's change the property of this. So over here, the first thing that we need to do, we have to make this as center align. So over here, we will align the text to middle. So over here we have given the text align as center. So the only property you can see that we need to change is we have to make this sign up as bold and we have to change the color of this. So let's do an inline CSS for this. So over here we will open the login page and over here we will give a span tag and in this we will place the inline CSS. So in React the way we put is double curly braces and over here we will give as font weight to bold and let's change the color of this to this one, which is the color code I received from the plugin. So over here if I save, you can see yes, we got the same texture as our original Instagram. Similar thing we will be doing for the sign in. So we are done with styling with sign up and sign in. Let's see. Yep, it is looking perfectly fine. What do you have to do? Now there's one trick. We have to show only one text over here based on the condition that whether the sign up is there or sign in is there. Which means that if the sign in option is open over here, then we have to give the option of sign up. Whereas if the sign up option is open here, we have to give the provision for signing. So there will be a flip condition between these two. So that condition we will implement after a few minutes. So let's first complete the remaining UIs. So over here we will be giving the two buttons, download with Play Store and download with Google Play. So I have also placed the image file for this in our app. So we'll go over here and we'll again create an empty div over here. So let's create an empty div. And over here the two things that we have to give this text that get the app and the icons over here. So let's create two divs inside the main div. So this will be the first text, get the app, and then we will be provisioning the two image file over here. So give the source and let's attach the image over here. So the first image will be App Store followed by Play Store. And let's set the width of this to 136. So let's import the images at the top. First one is the App Store and the next one is the Play Store. So let's save it and let's see how it's looking in the browser. So you can see, yes, we got the exact images. So let's do the CSS over here to make it look exactly like our app. So over here, let's give the class name to it. And let's give the class name. And over here, we will also provide a class property. So let's create the styling of this in our class file. Let's go to login.css. So over here in the download section, let's first give a margin to it and then we'll give the height and width of this container and then we have to make it center aligned. So let's do it. So first we'll give a height and width of this component. Let's give it 105 pixel and give the weight to 350 and let's give the text align to center. So let's save it. So over here you can see, I think we have done some mistake. So let's go to the JS file. So over here I've given the class name to this div. So actually it will be on the top div over here because this is the parent div of this download section. So we have to give the class name to this parent div. So let's save it and let's see right now. So yes, it's looking exactly what we anticipated. So let's right now give a proper margin to it so that it looks more decent. So over here we will again go back to our download section. So let's give the margin top to 20 pixel and over here also in the image I will be giving a margin top of 20 pixel. So let's save it. Yes, it is looking as perfect as we expected. So right now just give a small margin between these two. So over here this is the class file that is bind with the image. So let's give a margin of 5 pixel around it and save it. So there seems like some problem with our JS. So let's go in the code. Okay, so we have not attached the class file to our next image, that is the Play Store. So yes, we have the class file attached to both the images. And yes, it is looking exactly what we expected. So this is our app and this is the original Instagram app. So you can see it's more or less the similar. Now let's implement this property of sign in and sign out. So for that what we will be doing is the first thing that we have to do is we have to distribute this into components. So if you have seen over here, we have implemented the entire code of login within this login page, which is not a good practice from React point of view. So what we'll do, we will make this sign in option as a separate component and we will make the corresponding sign up property also in a different component. So let's just divide this into components. So we'll create one more folder over here known as sign in. And within this signing, we will be creating the corresponding JS file. So signin.js, and we will be using the same CSS that we are using in login page because we have already coded over there. So I'm not creating a separate CSS for this, but if you want, you can distribute the CSS accordingly. So first of all, let's make this a React component. So for that, we will be using the shortcut like imrc. And we will be using CCC, which will make it as a React component, and we'll name that as sign in. So over here we are done with the sign in component. So I'm not doing anything special, I'm just distributing this into component. So within this sign in, the first thing that we have to do is we have to import the class file that we are using for login page. So both the sign in and the login is using the same class file right now. Now from this login page, we just need to copy this 3 line which is associated for creating the login page, which is nothing but this 2 text box and the login option. So we'll cut this 3 option from here and we will paste it in our sign in page. So we are done. So over here we have just separated the component of sign in property. So let's save it. Now in login page, over here we just need to import the sign in component. Over here let's import the sign in. Yes, we got the sign in as component. So over here you can see that the VS Code has automatically imported the sign in component. So look wise there should not be any change. So yes, it's looking exactly what we have done previously. So over here we have made a cleaner code, like we have separated the login page into a different module. Similarly, we will be doing the same thing for sign up page also. So over here only, let's create the sign up component. So we'll create a component called as sign up, and over here we will create the JS and the class file for it. So over here we will make this sign up as a React component, and then we will import the corresponding CSS file over here. Let's create an empty div and save it. Let's see everything should work. Yes, there is no change. So there is no compilation error. Now what we have to do, we have to go to the login page and we will import the sign up component over here. So yes, we have successfully imported the sign up component. Let's save it and see in the browser. So over here, since we do not have any code for sign up, you cannot see the sign up form. So let's first comment out this sign in so that we can work over here. So let's comment it out. So you should see an empty space. So yes, you can see an empty space. So let's now create the sign up form. So over here, we'll go to the signup.js. And over here we have to create the necessary form fields over here. So let's first see what are the forms that we have to attach. Let's go to Instagram app. So the field that we have for sign up is mobile number and email, full name, username and the password, and the corresponding sign up button. So let's implement this 4 text box. So we'll copy the same thing from sign in and let's put it within sign up. So for the first thing that we already have is the phone number, user ID and email ID. So the text should be changed to mobile number or email ID. So we'll change over here. Then we have to give the full name and username. So let's copy 2 instances of this. So over here it will be full name and then the username. And let's change the text over here to sign up and save it. So let's see how it's looking on our browser. So perfect. So I think it's looking great. So the only thing you can see over here that the height of this container cannot hold the sign up properties over here. And the main reason why this container cannot contain the extra attribute over here because we have given a fixed height to this component. So let's change that property. So over here we'll go to our login page.css and over here we will just remove the height of this component since we have given a fixed height to this right hand side component, and that was the reason why we are facing this issue. So we'll remove the height from here and click on save, and we have to give padding over here. So let's give a padding bottom to 25 pixel and let's save it. So over here, yes, you can see it's looking exactly perfect what we have expected. So let's test it out for one more component. So over here we'll go to the login page and this time we will comment out this sign up option and we will enable sign in. So let's save it and see how it's looking in the browser. So yes, you can see that based on the height, this container will adjust automatically by itself. Now the only pending thing for this page is we have to provide exact logic of sign in and sign up based on which this content should show up. So on the login page.js, we will initialize one state variable. Let's call it isLogin, means whether the login page is enabled or not, and let's make it true by default, means whenever the user will land on this page, the login page will be shown by default, and based on this condition we will render the page accordingly. So over here, just before this sign up and sign in component, we will put our rendering logic. So let's give a curly braces over here and we will see that if the state property of this component, means isLogin, is true, then we will show the sign in component. Otherwise, we will put the sign up component. So let's get rid of this one and let's save it. So over here you can see that by default the sign in option is getting enabled. If I refresh the screen, you can see that by default the sign in option is enabled, but we have to modify this based on this condition over here. So also we will place the same logic over here. So we will be going over here in the sign up option and we will place the similar condition over here, but this will be a reverse condition. So if the state property of isLogin is true, means for the user this panel is open, and at that time we have to give the sign up option. So if this statement is true, then what we'll do, we will show the sign up option. So we'll paste this logic. Otherwise we will give the sign in option. Let's save it. So over here you can see that it is working as expected. So let's understand what we have done. So on the browser reload, we are setting the default property is login true, which means the user will see the login page, and when is login is true, this component will show up. And when the is login property is true, also the sign up property over here will show up. So hopefully this idea is clear. Now the next functionality that we have to do is on clicking on sign up, this component should change to sign up, and this section should also change to sign in. So let's create that functionality. So over here we will be creating an on click listener over here. So we'll give on click and we will attach a function to it. Let's name the function as change login, and the same functionality we will be attaching over here, and we will create this function at the top over here. Now what we'll check over here is if the state property of this component is login is true, then we have to change it to false. So we will change the set property to false. Similarly, if it is false, then we have to make this as true. So let's save it and let's see in the browser whether the functionality is working fine or not. So over here you can see that the browser is loaded for the first time with the sign in option. Let's create on sign up. So yes, you can see that the content over here changed to sign up. Again, let's go back to sign in. So yes, you can see the flip operation over here. So it's getting changed from sign in to sign up, and as well as the corresponding option is also changing over here. So the only problem you can see is like on clicking on sign in, the padding at the top is going. So let's see the property over here. So let's go to the login page.css, and over here within this sign in and the sign up property, we will be giving the top margin of 20 pixels. So this is a small CSS modification you need to do for making things looks exactly perfect. So if you go to the browser, yes, it's looking absolutely brilliant. So if you just compare it with our existing Instagram app, you can see it's looking more or less similar, and we have implemented it within maybe 40 minutes or so. So we will be implementing the actual authentication with the Firebase application in our 5th video, where we will be integrating the backend as well as the front end together. But right now we will stop the implementation of the login page and we will move to the implementation of our next page, and that is the main Instagram app. So hopefully you guys have liked the video until now, and I hope it was useful for you. And if you have liked the video, please do like and share this video. And if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update from my side and you are always ready for your next interview. So let's right now move to the next component of this video, where we will be cloning the actual Instagram page, which looks something like this. So let's from here start with the implementation of the next page, that is our home page. So over here, let's again go back to our component and let's close all the component that we have created for our login page. Now the first thing we have to do is we'll go to our app.js, and over here we have to comment out this login page. So since this is a single page application, so we will be having only one app.js, and that is why based on the condition we will be rendering the home page or the login page accordingly. So let's first create another component called as homepage. So in the component folder, we will create a separate component. Let's name it as homepage. And as usual, within this homepage, we will be creating two files. One is the home.js and home.css. And the first and the primary thing that we have to do is we have to go to the home.js and make it a React component. So over here you can see we have created the component called as home.js, and let's give a dummy text over here. Let's save this component and import this from app.js. So over here you can see the Visual Studio have imported the home.js from our component. So let's save it and let's see in the browser. Yes, you can see right now we have an empty app again called as Hello World. So our entire login page is right now residing within this component, which I have commented out intentionally, because this login page should only come for the user who are not signed in. And since we have not implemented the logic of sign in and sign up using the Firebase right now, so we are intentionally commenting out this code so that it will be easy for us to proceed for further development. So let's start with the development of the home UI. So we'll go to the home.js and let's clean this text from here. Now let's go to our main Instagram app and let's see what are the things that we need to design for this page. So over here, if we see the home page of our Instagram app, you can easily understand the components and the grid structure that we have to develop over here. So this may looks quite difficult for you for the first look, but it's actually very simple, and I would highly recommend you to code along with me so that it will be easy for you to build this entire app. So let's start with the implementation of the home UI. So let's first see that how we should divide this page into different grids. So the first thing, if you see that we have the entire page over here, and this page is mainly divided into two components. One as this navigation bar at the top, and next is the body of this home page. So let's first start with implementing of each and every module over here so that it will be easy for us to visualize the code. So let's go to our home.js, which is a blank screen right now. Now let's divide it into two components. One as a navigation bar, which will be at the top, and second as a body container, which will contain all the components of our Instagram app. So let's first create a navigation bar component. So over here we will create one more folder called as navbar, and in between we will be creating the corresponding JS and the CSS page. And as usual, we will make this JS file as our React component. So right now I believe you guys are already familiar with how to create a React component, because while building this app you have to create multiple components over here. So make yourself as familiar as possible with all these shortcuts. So let's create a div over here as an empty page. Let's call this a navbar as a simple text, and let's import this navigation bar from our home page. So over here we will import the navigation bar. Now we will again create one more component. Let's call it as main content. Again we will make the main content as our React module, and we will put a dummy content over here. Let's save it and let's import it from our home.js. So let's save it and let's see in the browser. So over here you can see that we have already divided this entire page into two main components. One as a navigation bar at the top and one as the main content. So we will keep developing each and every component separately so that it will be easy for you to understand. So let's start with the navigation bar. So as before, I have placed all the necessary icons and the images that you need to have for developing this app. So let's start with using those images and let's build this app. So the first thing that we will do is we will remove the text over here and we will create an empty div over here. And let's assign a class to it. So just like before, over here also we will follow the same convention, that is the name of the file underscore the component name. So let's create this class in our class file. So the first thing we have to do is we have to set the height and the width of this navigation bar. So let's give the height as 54 pixel and then set the background color of this navigation bar as white. So over here also, if you see in our real Instagram, that the navigation bar is in white color, whereas the main page is in gray color. And also within this navigation bar, there is a border that is provided over here. So let's implement that. So over here, we will provide a border to this navigation bar. So let's save it. So over here, I can see that there is no change that is happening over here. So let me see why. Most probably I have forgot to import the CSS property. So let's import the CSS over here and click on save. So over here you can see that as soon as I clicked on save, you can see that there is a navigation bar that got created over here. And one thing I have to change over here is I have given a wrong color code. It should be DB, DB and DB. Yep. So let's save it. Yes, it's looking exactly what we want. Now we have to divide this navigation bar into different grids, just the similar way we have designed our login page. So let's go to our Instagram app and let's see how this thing is divided. So over here you can see that the main navigation bar is divided mostly into 3 to 4 columns. So over here this is one column. After that you can see there's one column over here. Then if I'm not wrong, there is one more over here and then one more on this section. So let's provide an approximate 4 to 5 grids over here and let's see how it is looking like. So we'll go back to our navbar.js. So over here we have to import the grid layout from Material UI. So over here I have imported the grid from the Material UI. Now let's divide this main container into grids. So let's first create the parent grid, which is called the container. So over here I will divide this entire grid into 3 main sections. So over here I have divided the entire grid into 3 sections. Section 1 of size 2, section 3 of size 6 and section 3 of size 4, which totally sums up to 12. Now let's put some comments over here so that we can visualize the grid. Let's save it. So over here you can see that our navigation bar got divided into 3 main sections. So over here this will be the blank one, which represent this. After that, in the second grid we will be fitting this to content, and the third grid will contain all the navigation items. So let's first delete the text from here. So the next thing what we have to do over here is we have to import the Instagram logo. So let's save it and let's import the Instagram logo over here. So let's import the Instagram logo at the top and let's click on save. So over here you can see we got the image, but the image is quite huge. So let's set the height and width of this image. So over here you can see we have got the image over here, but the image is not located at the center of this navigation bar. So let's provide some styling over here. So let me create a class file over here for this image. So over here, to make the image center, I will be giving a top margin to this image. So let's give a top margin of 10 pixel over here. So right now you can see that the image is located just in between the navigation bar, which is exactly what we have in the Instagram app. Now let's develop this search bar over here. So we'll go back to our navbar.js, and over here we will be implementing our search toolbar. So let's create an input text bar. And let's save it. So over here you can see we got the search bar over here, but the way we have distributed the grid is not proper. So over here we will change the gridding structure. So what we'll do, so over here we will change the gridding structure from 6 to 3. So yes, it is coming in between. So I know the total gridding value is not 12, but we will go with this flow. After that we will be adding few more grids over here so that we align all the properties correctly. So the next thing that we have to put over here, we have to put all the toolbars that are present over here. So I have already provided all the icons that you need to develop this application. So let's utilize them. So over here, I will be creating one more grid to hold all the images present over here. So let's create a grid of size 4. And over here, we will be importing all the images that are necessary to create the application. So over here we will need 4 images. So I have created 4 image tag over here. Now let's see what are the images that we need to use to create the application. So the first one will be home. So let's create the first tag as home, and the next one will be message, followed by find that I will be naming, and then comes the react. So let's import these corresponding images at the top. So we have imported all the image. Let's click on save and let's see what we got in the browser. So over here you can see that we have got all the images, and as usual all the images are stacked one above the other. So I think you already know what we have to do. So if you have guessed it right, we have to set the property as display flex. So let's give the inline CSS over here. And let's save this layout. So over here you can see all the images right now are horizontally aligned, but they are not spaced equally. So we have to give a proper width to each and every images over here. So let's set the width of each and every images. So we have set all the images size over here. So you can see the size of the image are perfectly fine. But we have to change the size of the grid because you can see that the value of this grid is crossing 12, and that is the reason it got distorted over here. So let's align it properly. So right now it sums up to 11. So I have to make it 12. So let me give one more grid of size 1, which will be empty. So we have got over here all the icons that we need. So the only thing that we have to do is we have to make the spacing correctly, and then we have to align it to the center. And one more thing, if you notice, you can see that there is a rounded image that is present over here, which actually points out the profile picture. So let's make it, and for that we will be taking the help of the Material UI. So let's go to the Material UI, and within this component under data display you will get this property as avatar, where you will get the rounded image. So let's see the source code for this one. So the library that is needed for using this avatar logo is we have to download the avatar from our Material UI. So we'll copy this import statement and we will paste it in our app. Now over here we will be providing our syntax for importing the image. So we'll give avatar and we will set the source to our image as profile pic. As of now we will be importing a profile pic from our local. So let's save it. So let's go to the browser. So over here you can see that using the Material UI we have got a rounded nice looking image over here. So more or less we have got all the things that we need over here. Now let's arrange this navigation bar properly. So the first thing we will be doing is we have to arrange this icon properly. So let's give the class to each and every image so that we can style them properly. Now let's create the entry in our CSS file. Now the first thing over here I will be giving is I will be setting a margin to each and every image. So I will be giving a margin at the top as 15 pixel and the side as 10 pixel. So let's save it and see how it looks like. So yes, you can see it's looking properly the way we want over here. Now we have to decrease this avatar logo over here because the size of the avatar logo here in our app is quite big. So let's set the width over here. So I will be giving an inline CSS to it. So you can see I have given a max height and width to this avatar logo. So now also give the padding to it, and for that I will be using the existing class file, and let's click on save. Yes, you can see that we got our navigation bar ready as we expected. Now let's design the search bar we have over here. So the same thing for the search bar over here, you can see that the inner text over here is grayed out, as well as the border over here is also provided in gray color. So let's start implementing that. So over here we will be first providing a class to this search bar, and I will put that class in our CSS file. Now let's first set the height and width of this search bar. Let's save it. Yes, it's looking good. Now what we have to do, we have to give a margin at the top to make it center aligned, and then we will be changing the border color of this search bar. So over here you can see that the search bar is looking what we have expected. Now let's make text over here center aligned. So we'll make align text to center and click on save. You can see it's looking exactly the way it should look like. The only thing is like over here you need to give one more images that I am ignoring as of now. So we'll go with the further development. So the only thing that we have to give is we have to change the background color of this text box, and we have to give a rounded border to it. So let's do it. So you can see that our Instagram navigation bar is exactly looking the way we have in our existing app. So we are almost done with the implementation of the navigation bar. So I believe it was quite fast. Now let's start with the implementation of the real content, that is the main body provided over here. So for that we will be moving to our next component, that is the main content. And the first thing that I have to do is I have to import this class file over here. So the first thing that we will be doing is we will go to the main content, and over here I will set the body background color to gray. So let's see in the app. So yes, you can see that there's a slight difference between the navigation bar and the gray out stuff over here, which is more like our Instagram app. Now the next thing what we have to do is we again have to grid out this entire layout into few grids. So over here we will be making this one as one grid. After that we will be creating one more grid for this content, and then we will be setting one more grid for this one, and then this will be the remaining grid. So primarily we will be creating 4 grids over here. So let's first import the grid from Material UI. So over here we have imported the grid from Material UI. Now let's make the grid structure over here. So first, as usual, we will make the parent grid, which is called as a container, and within this container we will be creating 4 grids over here. So again let's give some dummy text over here and let's save it. So over here you can see that we have already given a proper grid to this content. Now let's start with the implementation of the primary content, that is this region. So over here again you can see that this region is divided into two components. One component showing the status bar over here, which is of type scrollable, and over here we have the parent content which contains all the posts, which is again a scrollable content vertically. So let's implement this stuff. So the first thing that we will be designing is the status bar over here. So we'll go to our main content, and over here we will be keeping this as blank. Now on this main region, we will be first creating an empty div which will hold all the contents over here. And within this, we will be creating two components, one component showing all the status bar over here, and another container will contain all the posts that we will be uploading in our Instagram. So over here first, we will be creating two components. So let's create the first component known as the status bar. Let's create one more component. Let's name that as a main page. So let's make this as a React component. So we will be doing imrc. Let's import the packages and let's name it main page, and let's import the CSS file over here. Similarly, we will do the same stuff for status bar. So over here I am creating an empty div just to see that whether the functionality is working fine or not. So this will be our status bar at the top, and this will be our main content which will contain all the posts. Let's save it. Now we have to import these two newly created components from our main content. So over here we will be importing the two components. Number one is the status bar and number two main page. Let's save it and see in our browser. So yes, you can see we got two components, one as in the status bar and another as post. Now let's start designing the status bar, which should look something like this. So as usual, we will be start developing by creating a div over here, and let's proceed further. So let's go to our status bar. Let's put it over here so that we can see what we are coding. Let's remove the status bar and provide an empty div, and let's give a class to it. Let's create the class in our CSS file, and let's set the height and width of this component. Let's set the background color to white and let's give a border to it. Let's save this layout. So you can see we already got a container over here which looks more or less like our status bar. So let's adjust margin over here. So we will give a top margin to it of 25 pixel. Yes, it's looking absolutely great. So if you right now compare with our existing app, you can see it looks more or less the same. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to provide this status over here, and we have to make this horizontal scrollable. So let's implement that. So for that we will be setting some dummy images over here. So for each status, what we'll do, we'll first create a div, and within this div we will be first giving an image to it, which means we need something like our material UI component, which is avatar, which we had already used over here. So we will import that avatar content over here, and let's provide the source to our image. Let's use our existing image. So let's make it as status image, and let's import the image at the top. So yes, you can see that we have got an image over here. So let's make it customized the way it should look. So what we'll do, we'll provide a class to this component, and let's give the class definition in our CSS file. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to set the height and width of this image. So yes, you can see we got an image. Now the next thing that we have to give is we have to give a username. So over here we will give a dummy username. Let's give my Instagram username and click on save. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to make the entire content center aligned over here. So same thing, we will give a class property to it, and we'll give a margin at the top. Now the next thing that we have to do is, if you see over here in Instagram, the username that is provided under the image has a very small font size. So we will also do the same. So we will go to a JS file and we will provide a class property to it. and over here I will be mentioning the font size of this text. Now let's save it. So over here you can see that the font size got decreased as our Instagram app. Now let's make few instances of this status bar so that we can actually see that how it will look when we have multiple number of status over here. So I'll copy this thing over here and I will make two instances of this. Let's save it. So over here you can see that the status are going one below the other because we have not put the flex property over here. So let's go to the class file of this parent container, and over here we will be putting the property of display flex. Now over here you can see that the images are aligned the way we want. One more additional feature that we have to implement over here is you can see that in real Instagram the total number of characters or the width of this text over here is bound to few number of characters. So we will also fix the width of the text. So we will go over here to our text field, and over here we will set the maximum width of this text. So over here we will give a maximum width of this text to 30 pixels, and we will set the overflow to x-axis as hidden. So now you can see that the text over here got truncated to few numbers of characters. So let's increase this text a bit more. I think this looks fine. Now one more thing we have to give is we have to provide an horizontal padding between the two images. So in the class component over here, along with giving a top margin of 25 pixels that we have provided over here, we will be giving also a margin on the left and the right side. So we will remove the margin at the top and we will give an overall margin of 25 pixels and 15 pixels. Now over here you can see that the status are aligned properly. Now if I even increase the number of status over here, it will get aligned properly the way we want. So that's good. Now the next property that we have to implement on this status bar is the scroll bar over here. So if you see that in this status bar there is a horizontal scroll bar over here. So we'll also implement the scroll bar over here. So what we'll do, first of all, we will provide some dummy content over here. So let's copy a few instances of this status. Now you can see since the number of status over here exceeded the width of this content, the last two status went outside our container. So over here we will be adjusting that property. So what we'll do, we'll go to our statusbar.css and in our parent container, that is this one, over here we will be implementing the property of the scroll bar. So over here we will provide that overflow x-axis as scroll. So you can see just by giving this overflow x-axis as scroll, a scroll bar got created over here. But over here you can visually display the scroll bar which comes by default on the Chrome browser. So there is a small CSS that you have to add over here so that you can hide this scroll bar for any browser. So to implement that feature, we have to give a special property for Chrome browser. So what we have to do, since the scroll bar is coming for this div, which is the parent div, we'll take the class property of that file, and with that class property, we'll be adding a pseudo class for Chrome browser, which is WebKit scrollbar, and we will make the display as none. So if I save it over here, you can see that even though that the scroll property is present over here, but the scroll bar is actually not coming. So right now it's looking as perfect as the real Instagram. Now let's implement one more feature over here is we can see that highlighted icon over here. So to implement that highlighted icon, what we will be doing in the status bar, over here we have this image layout, which means the avatar logo over here, we will be placing a border to it. And let's save it. So over here you can see that we also got an highlighted mark over here, which is looking more or less similar to our real Instagram. Now since more or less we are done with this status bar over here, let's now make this thing a bit dynamic. So what we'll do, instead of hard coding all the status over here, we will be making it in a dynamic way so that it will be helpful for us when we will be integrating this code with our backend. So over here what we will do, we will create a state variable called as status list, which is nothing but an array over here. And to populate this value over here, we will be calling a function, let's call it getData, which will actually call the API when we will be done with our backend. But right now let's call a fake data over here. So we'll create a function called as getData. So over here, if you take a deeper look to each and every status over here, you can see that to create this component, we actually need two data. One is the image URL and number two is the username for that particular user. So over here, let's create a dummy JSON file which we will be feeding over here. So over here you can see that I have created a dummy JSON with few sample data. So the first status will be for the user Anindo_bunny and the second status will be for the user testing. So let's first feed this into our status list. So we will set the status list over here. And based on this component data, let's render this page. So if you are not really understanding the functionality, just hold for a minute. I will explain everything in detail. So let's proceed further. So what over here I will do, I'll create a React block over here and over here I will iterate over this status list. And within this iteration, let's put the content over here. So we are done with making the things dynamic. Now let's get rid of this dummy status. And at the top, let's call this function called as getData. Normally we call all the Ajax function in React application under the function called as component_did_mount. Let's call this function from here and let's save it. So over here you can see that we got two instances of status over here. Since the number of entry within our JSON is 2 and you can see that we have not hard-coded the number of status over here. So if the number of status over here would have been more than 2, then this component would have rendered that automatically. So let's test this property. So over here you can see I have 4 instances of status. Let's save it and let's see how it's looking in the browser. So you can see that right now the number of status is 4. So over here we have made the entire component dynamic based on the amount of the data we are getting from the API, which is nothing but a dummy text right now. So right now let's understand that what we actually have done over here. So at the very top of this component under constructor, we have defined an empty array over here as a state property, which is called as status list. And over here we have created a function called as getData, which will actually call the API from our backend. But since the backend is not ready right now, we will create a dummy JSON over here. So this is the expected JSON that we will be returning from our backend. So once we have received this JSON from the backend, we are feeding that JSON property into our status list over here, which we have initialized at the top. So on the browser reload, this API is getting called and the data which we are getting from the API are getting initialized over this array called as status list. And once this list is filled with all this data from the API, over here we are dynamically rendering the page. Now over here, instead of making a hard-coded string, let's change this text based on the content we are getting from the API. So over here you can see I have changed the hard-coded string with the item which I am receiving from the API. Now let's save it. And over here you can see that our status name got changed based on that API data. So over here you can see we have given the user ID of this as testing and that's why it got rendered like this. So let's change it to something else so that it will be easy for you to understand. So let's make it ABC. So if I save it right now, so you can see that based on the value of the username which we will be receiving from the API, the content will also dynamically change over here and we do not have any hard-coded string over here. So right now since we have made this component ready to consume API, let's make few more adjustments on the CSS part so that we can complete this entire status bar. So we'll go to the statusbar.css and over here in the text section, that is the statusbar_text, we will make the alignment of the text to center. Now if you see that we are done with our status bar, now everything will look perfect when we will be integrating the backend code over here. So as of now, let's include few more status so that the UI looks more beautiful. So you can see we have plenty of data over here in our dataset and the scrollable bar over here is also working fine. So we are almost done with this status bar. Now let's move to our next component, that is the post over here. So to create the post over here, which is our main page.js. So right now what we'll do, first we'll close all the JS page that are opened over here. and over here we will create a component. Let's call it as post. So let's create a component over here, and let's create the JS and the CSS file over here. So in the post.js, let's first make this as a React component. Now for testing purpose, let's put some dummy text over here. And let's import this post from our main page. So let's save it and let's see. So you can see that we got the hello world from our post component. So over here, if you see that if I copy this component multiple number of times, you can see multiple hello worlds in our main page. So let's save it. So over here you can see that each of them is actually a post of the user, which is similar to our Instagram post over here. So over here we will make this hello world look something like this. So let's implement this post in our app. So first of all, we will go to our post.js and we will first remove the hello world from here. So let's go to the Instagram app and understand that how we should design this post over here. So what we'll do, we will first create a container called as post over here, and within this container we will be dividing into few parts. First one will be the header over here. Second part will be the image below that, and after that we will be having the like count and this section, and just below that we will be having this comment section over here. So basically our post container will be divided into 4 components. Number 1 is the header, number 2 is the image, number 3 is the analytics, and number 4 is the comment section. So let's start with the implementation of this post component. So the first thing that we will be doing is we will be dividing this parent component into 4 sections. So the first one represents the header, the next one represents the image, which is actually the post. The third one represents the analytics, means the number of likes you have received, and the fourth one represents the comment section. Now let's implement them one by one. So let's start with the header. So over here in the header section, what we have to do, the first thing, we need an image over here and then the username of the person. So over here in the demo, we will not be implementing the edit part, but if you want it as an enhancement, you can feel free to do so. So let's start with the implementation of this header component. So the first thing that we have to put is we have to put a class name to our parent component, which is the parent container. Then we will put one more class to our header section. Now let's put the entries in our CSS file. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to give a width and height of this parent container. So let's give a height and width over here. And also let's give a gray border like this. Let's save it. So over here you can see that we already got a structure of the post over here. So let's enhance this container. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to put a background color of this container as white. And then let's put a margin at the top. So over here you can see we have few posts separated with a gap between them. Now since we have got the parent container, let's now divide the header section over here. So let's implement the height and width of this header. And let's give a border at the bottom. So over here you can see that we have already created a header section for this post. Now let's provide the image and the username over here. So we'll go to the post.js and over here we will be creating the image and the username. So again over here we will be using the React component called as avatar. So over here we got our image and the username. Let's provide the CSS property so that we can style them accordingly. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to provide the property as display flex so that the content doesn't stack one above the other. Let's click on save. Now let's put up specific height and width for this image. So this looks good. Now if you see, the image is positioned at the center. So let's provide a padding to the image. So I think this looks perfect. Let's now style the username. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to make this thing as bold and we have to make it center aligned. So beautiful. So I think it's looking quite nice. Now let's move to the next component, that is the image over here. So let's import one of the image from our local drive. So over here I will be putting the image tag and I will be using a sample image for this one. Let's import the image at the top and let's save it. So brilliant. So I can see the images properly. So let's set the height and width of this image. So I will set the width of this image same as like the container. And let's save it. So perfect. I think you can see that we have already got something like our Instagram app. So right now we can see that the image is getting out of the container because we have fixed the height of the image. So let's change the height of the image. So remove the height from here and let's save it. So you can see the container are now holding the image perfectly. So we are done with two parts. Number one is the header section and number two the image within the post. Now let's move to the third section, that is the analytics over here, which means that we have to develop this section over here. So I have already provided the images in our image folder. So let's use them. So I will go to our post.js and within the analytics, first let me create a container over here. And within this container, I will be using the three images over here. Let's import the images from our image directory. So yes, you can see we have got the three images over here. Now let's style them properly so that it looks exactly like this one. So I've already created the class name over here. So let's create the entry in our CSS file and let's set the height and width of this content. So let's see. Yup, it's looking perfect. So only thing I have to give a padding over here. So let's do our inline CSS for that. So over here I will give the inline CSS and let's save it. Yes, it's looking absolutely perfect. Now let's give some dummy entries over here for our like count. So you can see it's looking perfect. So just let's set some of the CSS property over here. So over here also I will be providing some inline CSS. So I will set the font weight to bold and I will give a margin at the left. So perfect. So I think it's looking exactly what we need for our Instagram app. So right now, since we are done with header, content and the analytics part, let's now implement the comment section over here. So for implementing the comment section, I'll be creating a parent div over here and let's get some dummy comment over here. And let's save it. So yes, you can see it's coming quite nicely, one below the other. Only thing I have to do is I have to give a proper margin and padding to this content. So let's provide a class name to one of the comment. And let's put the entry in our CSS. And let's do the styling over here. So the first thing I have to do is I have to give a margin. I think it's quite fine with the comment. We can ignore this minute CSS. Now the last and the final thing that we have to implement over here is the functionality of adding a comment over here. So we have to provide a comment box for the user. So let's add a comment box in our application. So what we will do, we will just add an input text over here and after that we will add the CSS to it so that it looks more or less like our Instagram app. So let's add an input text box over here. Let's save it and let's see how it's looking in our application. So over here you can see we got a text box over here. Let's add a class to it and add the CSS to this text box. So the first thing that we will be adding over here is the height and the width of this text box. So you can see that it's looking quite nice. Now let's remove the border from the text box and increase the font of this placeholder. So perfect. So you can see that our Instagram app is more or less looking like our actual app. But there can be a few pixels of difference here and there that hopefully you guys can change accordingly. But I believe over here we have successfully managed to clone the Instagram app. So let's add few more functionalities over here and let's make this post dynamic. So over here, you know that in our main page.js, we have hard-coded the post over here, which we will remove and we will make this dynamic just like we have done for our status bar. So the first thing that we have to do, we have to remove the hard-coded string from the post component. So over here what we will do, we will replace all the hard-coded string with the value of the props that we will be sending from the main page. So the first thing that we will be replacing over here is the username over here. So let's remove the hard-coded string. Next we have to provide a proper image to this file. So we will also make this a variable. After that, the content over here we are posting should also change dynamically. So we will also change the image over here. And the next thing is the number of likes the post got over here. And over here for the comment, we will be not changing right now. What we will be doing, we will be calling an API for the comment section within the post.js. But so we will implement this later. So since we have made all these things dynamic, then we need to pass this value into our props file. So what we'll do, we'll go to our main page.js and from here we will pass the value one by one. So the first thing that we have to pass over here is the username. So let's pass the username. So let's give a dummy username over here. After that, the next thing we have to pass is the image, that is the post image. And the third thing that we have to pass is the total number of likes received by the post. And one more thing that we will be passing over here is the ID of this post. So let's give the name as ID. And over here for the post image, we will be giving some dummy URL. So let's save it and see in the browser. So over here you can see that the browser have loaded each and every component successfully. So everything on this page is right now dynamic. We have removed all the hard-coded string from the post.js. The only thing that is still hard-coded is the number of comments over here. And to make this comment section variable also, what we will do, we will create a variable over here as a state variable called as comment list, which will be of type array. And over here, when the post gets loaded, we will call a function that will retrieve all the comments that are associated with this post. So let's name the function as getComments. So this function will basically call the API that we will be building in our next video. But as of now, let's create a dummy data over here. So over here, each comment that we will be passing over here will have few attributes. Number one, the username means the person who is providing this comment. After that, the comment ID of this comment. Then the next thing is the timestamp of this comment, means when this comment was posted. And after that, the description, that is main comment. So over here you can see I have created a dummy comment over here. And once I receive this data from our API, we will have to set this value in our state property. So this is the same thing we are doing the way we have implemented our status bar over here. So if you are not getting the concept, just wait for a minute. Once we are done with the implementation, I will let you know entire workflow over here. So over here I will be calling this function component.didMount. So let's call the function getComments. And once this comment list got populated, I have to display the comments over here. So I will be creating a React block over here and I will look through all the comments that I am getting from the Ajax response. So over here I have rendered all the contents from our list. So let's delete this one and let's save it and see whether this functionality is working fine or not. So let's save it. So over here you can see that I am getting a compilation error. Okay, so because I have given a wrong syntax over here, I have to give the arrow marks over here. So let's save it. So yes, there is no compilation error over here. Let's see in the browser. So yes, you can see that this post have been given by ASD and the comment is this one. So it's working perfectly fine. So for testing purpose, let's add few more comments for this post. So maybe this is comment 3, this is comment 2 and the username will be different. So let's save it and let's see. So you can see that this is the username who have provided this comment. And this entire functionality is being driven dynamically by the implementation that we have done just right now. So let's first explain that what we did over here. So what we did is on the browser reload, the main page will first get loaded, and over here also we have to make things dynamic, but we will do that later. So what is happening is like we are passing this post ID, the username and the post description as the parameter in the post component. And in the post component, first we are creating an empty comment list over here. And once the post file got created, we are first calling an API over here. So in this function, we are basically calling the backend API over here, which we will be implementing in our next video. So we are expecting that our API will give an output in the JSON format like this. And once we receive an output like this, we will feed this output in our comment list, which is actually an array over here. And once we are done with setting up the comment list, then we will render this page accordingly. So I think this flow is clear to you. Now let's go back to our main page.js. So over here also same thing we will be doing for making the post component dynamic. So over here you can see we have hard-coded the number of posts that will be coming over here, which is 4 right now. But in real scenario, we have to make this thing dynamic. So let's implement that functionality also. So similar thing we will be doing over here. We will be first creating a post array over here, which will contain all the posts that are there in our Instagram app. And over here, we will call a backend API to retrieve all the posts that are there in our DB. So let's call that function at getPost. So the dataset we are expecting from our API call is something like this. So let's create one object of our post data. So the first thing that we are expecting is a post ID. The next thing will be the username who have posted this data. Number 3, the image that got posted, that is the image URL. Next, the timestamp when it got posted, and the number of likes the post has received. So this is the minimum amount of data we need to render this page. So since we got the component of the post, let's now render the page accordingly. So over here what we'll do, once we get this data set from our API, we have to first set this post array over here. And we have to call this getPost in our method called as component.didMount. So you can see over here also we are doing the same thing. We are first creating a post array over here, and when the component is getting loaded, we are calling an AJAX call over here, which will retrieve all the posts present in our Instagram app, and the API will give the response of each and every post in this manner. So this is the minimum amount of metadata I am receiving from our backend API, which we will be developing in our next video. So stay tuned for that, where we will be implementing each and every API for our backend. And after that, in our 5th video, we will be integrating this backend API with this front-end UI, so that everything works as a full stack from end to end. So stay tuned till that point. So over here what we are doing is, after we get the data from our API, we are setting the post data over here. And based on this post array, we will be rendering this page over here. So let's again add a block over here, and let's iterate over this post array. Now in this post array, we will be creating the post over here. So I'll copy one of the template of post. So the first thing that we will be passing over here is the post ID, which is nothing but item.post ID, which we are receiving from this AJAX call. Now the next thing is the username that we have to pass. And after that we have to pass the image URL and then the number of likes. So you can see that we have again removed all the hard-coded string over here from the post, and we have made everything dynamic. So over here we will delete all the hard-coded strings so that we can make the application as dynamic as possible. So you can see we got one post over here as expected. Now let's increase the number of posts over here. Let's copy. Let's give one more post. Let's save it. So let's see. So over here you can see that yes, all the 3 posts are coming. So finally we have developed the major part of our Instagram app, that is posting the comments and posting the images over here. Now the next thing that we have to build the info section and the suggestion box over here. So this will be pretty straightforward because I will not be wasting much time on implementing this, because I will be making this totally on hard-coded strings because we do not have any function to understand on this section. So let's implement this section, because after that we have some major things to do. That is, over here we have to give the provision of posting the image, and also we have to give the provision of posting a status over here. So that we will be doing very quickly after we are done with the info and the suggestion box over here. So let's implement that quickly. So to implement this info section and suggestion box, the first thing that we have to do is we have to go to our main page and we have to remove this text from here. So let's go to our main content.js. So over here, let's first close all the components that are open right now, and let's go to our main content. So over here you can see we have already made the provision of implementing the sidebar. So over here we have to create two components. One is the info section at the top and then the suggestion section below. So let's create two components for this section. So we'll create the first component, that is the info section, which will give the info of the login user. And let's create the CSS and the JS file for this component. And in the JS file, let's make this content as React component. So let's save it and let's create one more component as suggestion. So over here you can see that we have created both the section, one as the info section and one as the suggestion section. So let's put some dummy text over here and let's import this from our main page. So I will be importing the info and the suggestion component from our main content over here. Let's save it. So over here you can see I have got the two components over here. So let's start with the first component, that is the info component over here. So as you already know, the first component that we need is our avatar logo, and then we have to create a div tag over here to hold the username over here. So let's quickly implement this section. So I will first remove this dummy text over here and we will import the avatar logo over here. And let's put an image source over here. Let's save it and see in the browser. So you can see that we got an image over here. So let's first provide the height and width of this component, and then we will be providing the height and width of the outer component so that it looks more or less similar like this. So let's open this application and let's do the styling part. So I have put the entry in our CSS file. Now let's first give the height and width of this outer container over here. And let's provide a top margin to it. So let's change the height and width of this avatar logo. So you can see it's looking more or less similar. Now let's give the username and the description just beside the avatar logo. So we'll go to our info section.js and over here we'll give the first thing, that is the username, and then we'll provide the description. So let's save it. So you can see that we got the username and the description over here, but it got stacked one above the other because we have not provided the display flex in our main content. So let's provide the display flex in our main container. So you can see that all of them are aligned as expected. So right now let's give some more CSS to this content so that it looks perfect. So we'll go to our info section. So let's first give the margin to this text over here. And also let's provide a gap in between the avatar logo and the content over here. So it's looking great. Now let's make this text as bold. So we are pretty much done with the info section over here. Let's now proceed to our next section, that is the suggestion section over here. So the implementation of the suggestion section over here is quite easy because we will not be implementing any AI or any APIs to support this functionality. Rather, we will be making some hard-coded component over here just to show off this thing in our UI. So let's implement the suggestion box over here. So in our application, we will go to our suggestion component, and over here we will first remove the dummy text and we will create a container over here. So basically over here we are dividing the suggestion box into two parts. Number one is this header section and number two is the content section over here. So you can see this block represent the header section which will represent this text and this section will represent the content over here. So let's do it. So let's save it and let's see in the browser. So you can see that we got the content over here. Let's now style it accordingly. So we will provide the class name to each of the container and we'll provide the styling to each of the component. So let's provide the entries in our CSS file. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to give the height and width of each and every component over here. So let's give the height and width of the container. And over here, let's provide a margin at the top. So you can see we got the suggestion section over here properly aligned. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to style it accordingly like the way it is in the Instagram. So we will provide the CSS for this header text. So you can see we got the header just similar to our Instagram app. So now let's do the styling of this part. So first of all, let's give the height and width of this component where it will show all the friends list. So let's give the height and width over here. So right now it's looking properly aligned. Let's now design this component. So we'll first give the class name to this component. Now let's put the CSS properties to our class. So over here, the first thing that we have to set is we have to set the display property of this thing to flex so that the image and the text come side by side. And then we have to give the proper height and width of this image. So perfect. Now let's style this text over here, which will display the username. So I think it looks more or less fine. Let's make over here some dummy data so that we can actually see that how it's looking with few more components. So let's save it. So you can see that the component is looking more or less fine. Let's over here add some proper dummy data and let's give a small padding over here in between the two components over here. So let's save the dummy data. So yes, you can see it's looking quite nice. Now let's provide a gap in between the two components. So we'll go to our suggestion frame that is over here and we will provide a padding between each component. Perfect. So you can see that over here we are almost done with the info section and the suggestion box provided over here. So let's get rid of this text over here. So yes, we can see that we are almost done with our Instagram and I believe this final application is looking amazing. So right now, since we are almost done with the cloning of Instagram over here using the React tab, the two major functionality that we have to provide over here is we have to provide an upload button over here. So in the real Instagram, you will never find an upload button over here because Instagram doesn't support the upload option in their desktop version. But over here, since this is our application, we will provide an upload option for the user so that the user can upload an image over here and can also upload a status over here. So let's implement the last and the final component of our Instagram app, that is the upload section over here. So to provide the upload functionality over here, we will go to our main page.js and over here, just before rendering all the post over here, which is the dynamic section that we have created over here, we will provide the functionality of upload over here. So let's create the upload option at this point. So to provide the upload option over here, first what we'll do, we will provide an upload icon over here and then we will implement the functionality of upload. And for uploading the image, we will be using the Firebase application, because uploading an image to a server is actually a complex thing to do, because there you have to take a lot of complexity into mind, because you have to save each and every images into different resolution, and also you have to compress the image accordingly. Because if your API doesn't support the algorithm of image compression, then within few days, as soon as the user will use your application, your server will get overflowed with data and the application will become damn slow. So we will not be implementing our own logic of uploading to server, rather we will be using the existing APIs by using the Firebase application. So though we will be creating our own APIs to save all the metadata of each and every uploads, but the real upload will happen in the cloud server using the Firebase application. So let's implement one by one so that it will be clear for you that how we should implement the upload option to any application. And using this same approach, you can create the upload option for any of the application that you will be creating in your near future. So let's start with the upload option over here. So the first thing that we will be doing is we will provide an upload icon over here. So let's save it. So over here you can see we have got an upload icon. Let's set the height and width of this icon. So let's save it. So perfect. Now let's centerline this post at the middle. So perfect. So I think you can customize your own upload button as you wish, because this is an additional property that we are providing over here, where you can easily use your own idea and innovation. So over here we will be simply putting an upload icon over here, and we will actually implement the code of uploading to the server in our fifth video, where we will be integrating our front end with our backend API. So let's provide one more upload option over here at the top of the status bar. So for that we will be going to our status bar.js, and similarly over here we will be providing our upload option. So over here also we will provide an image. And let's provide the height and width of this image. So perfect, we got the upload icon over here. Let's now align it properly. So we'll attach a class to it, and we will provide the class property in our class file. So brilliant. So over here we got the upload for our status, and over here we got the upload to our post. So once we click on upload, we can upload a new post, and once we click on this upload status, we can upload a status over here. So amazing. So over here we have cloned all the major and the important properties of our Instagram app. So let me show you from start to beginning that what we have implemented over here. So the first thing we have implemented is our login page, which looks something like this. So over here we have cloned our login page, where we have the option of signing and sign up for each and every user. And once the user have signed up to our application and have given the proper credential for logging into the application, we will land to our next page, that is our home page, which will look something like this. So amazing. So over here we have implemented more or less all the properties of Instagram. So we will fine tune each and every component in our fifth video, where we will be integrating it with our backend application. So in our next video we will be focusing entirely on creation of the backend application, where we will be creating the entire SpringBoot application from the scratch. So the first thing that we will be implementing is the login authentication, for which we will be using the Firebase application, and we will save all the metadata of each and every user in our application using the backend API. And once the user has successfully logged into our application, then using our backend application, we will show the status to that particular user and all the posts that are available in our Instagram application. So let's start with the implementation of the next component of our application, which is our backend APIs. So I hope till now you guys have thoroughly enjoyed the way we have implemented each and every component over here, and I believe it was useful for you because using this core concept you can build any application that you want to build. So if you have liked this video, don't forget to like this video and share as much as you can, and if you are not subscribed to my channel till now, please do subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon, because in future I will be uploading many videos like this so that it will be helpful for you to become a full stack developer. So let's start with the next video where we will be implementing our backend API. Let's see you on the next video. Thank you.